Right, just a heads up for this video, I might sound a little weird, but that's mainly because at the minute I'm currently getting over a cold. So, I'm going to sound a little bit weird for the duration of this video. Just hear it out. Doctor Who and the Pirates, or The Lass Who Lost a Sailor, the 43rd Doctor Who main range Big Finish release, first released in 4 parts across CD and download in April of 2003 and written by Jacqueline Rayner. Now, the Doctor's companion, Dr. Evelyn Smythe, voiced once again by Maggie Staples, she returns home, or returns back to her normal place and time, where she ends up visiting one of her students, Sally, voiced by Helen Goldwyn. And she knows that Sally is kind of in a delicate place at the minute because of external circumstances. So, in an effort to try and cheer Sally up, Evelyn tells her one of the stories of her recent travels with the Doctor, and the time that she met pirates, with the 6th Doctor, once again voiced by Colin Baker, joining her partway through in order to kind of provide tea and also to fill in some of the gaps. However, it's a rather delicate situation pretty much for everyone, as it turns out that Sally had recently been in a car accident, and while she got out okay, her travelling companion hadn't. Basically, her travelling companion had been killed, and now people are looking at her differently, and she has actually just written up kind of her suicide note, and had kind of left it around to tell Dr. Evelyn that she wouldn't be around anymore. And it turns out to be rather difficult for Evelyn as well, because the story that she ends up telling also does involve a death, and one that affected her greatly. Hold on. So the story that Evelyn ends up telling is, as I said, about pirates, and they end up encountering several pirates and people along the way, including a cabin boy named Jem, played by Dan Barrett, a kind of naval commander, or just a sailor, named Emmanuel Swan, played by Nicholas Pegg, who is somewhat of a, well, for a less kind way of saying it, he's basically a wimp. Now, when his ship gets overtaken by a pirate named Red Jasper, he naturally assumes that all of the crew are going to be on his side. However, his crew very quickly abandon him, and even throughout the story, he constantly believes that when he shows himself to still be alive, as all of the crew believe him now to be dead, that they will immediately side with him, even though the crew really aren't really going for it. With the crew including the first mate, Mr. Merriweather, played by Mark Siney, and most of the other crew being voiced by Timothy Sutton. Now, the big kind of surprise for me in casting for this particular story was Red Jasper, who is voiced by Bill Oddie. And yeah, I can't ever say I thought that Bill Oddie would ever show up in Doctor Who. Well, at least definitely not on screen. But just to have Bill Oddie in this particular story playing a ruthless pirate, that to me honestly feels weird, but at the same time it's enjoyable. This also takes a lot of inspiration. It's actually pretty much a parody of kind of naval musicals. Like, they very clearly rip off songs from HMS Pinafore, Pirates of Penzance, and the Mikado, with songs inspired by, well, pretty much covers or parodies of Modern Major General, A Policeman's Lot, We Sail the Ocean Blue, Oh Better, Far to Live and Die. I think my two favourites are Modern Major General, which the Doctor reworks as I am the very model of a Gallifreyan buccaneer, which just, I don't know, I can like that. And a policeman's lot, which they rework as an assassin's lot is not a happy one. I'll admit, when they got to the end of part 2 and Evelyn said, "Oh God, are you going to start singing?" I went, "Well, yes, I am." I was just like, "Oh God!" Like, I mean, I'm sure Colin Baker was a good Doctor and he was a very lovely man, but I'll be honest. When I heard he was going to start singing, I was like, "Oh dear." But in fairness to him, a lot of the songs are very kind of talky songs, but at the same time, they do really well, and I think Colin Baker and pretty much all of the cast do great with the songs they're given. I mean, Gallifrey and Buccaneer, I was listening to it and really liking it. But, as I said, the story for Evelyn does actually have a point, because she knows that Sally had recently been going through some tough times with the car crash and the like, and so she wanted to tell a story where she knew that one of the characters didn't make it out alive, that being Jem, the cabin boy voiced by Dan Barrett. Because throughout the story, most of the pirates are looking for treasure, and Jem had at one point a treasure map, and Red Jasper, believing at one point that he could actually get the treasure map from Jem, ended up beating him to death. And honestly, it affected Evelyn quite deeply. And while it's all kind of fun and games with the songs, it does lead to a rather tender moment right at the very end of the story where Emmanuel Swan and all of the other kind of sailors meet up. Red Jasper is kind of left stranded on the Ruby Islands where they've been searching, and Evelyn shows them the dead body of Jem and says to them all, "Is this what you want? Is this pirate life for you?" I mean, even earlier in the story, as I said, with An Assassin's Lot, they kind of believed that they didn't like killing, but they believed it was part of the job. But having now had to face the fact of a young boy who has been killed while kind of in their presence, everyone kind of has to face the facts that this isn't what they signed up for. But ultimately, the reason why Evelyn told Sally this story was because she knew that Sally was about to end her own life. And she had found the note that Sally had left for her and asked the Doctor to take her back to the night that Sally wrote the note, i.e. this night. And she ends up saying to Sally that while the story left her drained, she knows that if one person still cares about you, that's enough to continue to go on living. Because in that moment, kind of when everyone's staring at you, you might believe that nobody really cares about you, but as long as one person still does, that's sometimes all you need. You just need to live till the morning, knowing that somebody cares about you, and that may just be enough. So, while I think this story is pretty much a lot of fun and games, at the same time it does hold a very distinct message. And I do think that this is a story that's probably better than I give it credit for. I mean, as I said, I was really surprised to have Bill Oddie in a Doctor Who story, a Big Finish story, but at the same time, they managed to make a lot of fun with the songs, but also managed to hold a really powerful message. And you know what? That, I think, means it's a pretty good story. Anyway, until next time, see ya.